Welcome to the Story Learning Podcast, regular doses of language learning tips and motivation to help you become fluent in any language. With me, Olly Richards. For language programs, books, free resources, and much more, visit StoryLearning.com.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Today we're going to be talking about language learning, of course, but also mixed in with a bit of love, dating, boyfriends, girlfriends, family, things like that. So before you hit the stop button, you are in the right place. This is the I Will Teach You a Language podcast. Before we start, I'd like to give a shout out to my friend Louis, who has a great podcast called The Lasting Love Connection. I've been listening to it recently. It's all about how to achieve deeper relationships in your life. And again, all will become clear in due course. So check out Louis' podcast, Lasting Love Connection. It's really great. Now, today, I want to do something a little bit cheeky because it's not a question that's come in for the podcast, but it is a question that's popped up over and over again. Many people who enroll in my Language Learning Foundations course, which is where I teach you how to learn, my exact strategies for learning another language, write to me and they talk about how they are learning a language for their partner, or because either they want to learn their partner's language for either to connect better with them, or because maybe they're going to visit their partner's family and they don't speak English, and so they want to be able to speak in their partner's language in order to be able to have a conversation with their family. This is a really, really common thing. Sometimes people even have kids, who speak their partner's language natively, and they can't speak with them properly. And this is a really big deal for many people. And if you're one of those people that finds yourself in these situations, or in this kind of situation, it's really tough because it's extremely emotional and high stakes for you. And I get that. It's real life. And so many of us are learning a language because we just quite fancy it and we think it would be a nice idea. But if you're in this situation where you really, your sense of enrichment and fulfillment in your life is dependent on you learning your partner's language, there's a lot at stake. It's something that you desperately want to be able to do. And for every year that goes by that you don't do that effectively, you can feel all kinds of emotional difficulties. Not only is it a question of kind of losing face maybe when you go and visit your partner's family, but it's a question of pride as well. You've married this man or woman and you feel that you really should speak their language. So I wanted to acknowledge first of all that how difficult it is. And what makes it worse is it can often be really, really counterintuitive. I'm sure that you have thought to yourself before, well, why can't my wife or my husband just speak to me if she just spoke to me for 30 minutes a day in her language, it's so easy for her, and then I'd be fluent. And then, of course, she doesn't want to, for obvious reasons. And then you might be talking to your colleagues, and you might be saying, "Oh yeah, my wife is Spanish, and I'm learning Spanish at the moment." And they say to you, "Oh well, it's easy for you. Your wife's Spanish; she can just teach you, right?" Which makes you feel absolutely wonderful, of course. And then, of course, when you do all the hard work and you do start to make progress and speak the language, then those same colleagues will turn around and say to you, "Oh, so that's why you speak Spanish. It's easy for you. She just taught you. Your wife's Spanish. Of course you learned." So you're caught in this really difficult situation where everybody expects you to be fluent in whatever language it is. And then even when you do put in the hard work, they don't appreciate the effort that you've gone to learn. So look, what I want to say if you're in this situation at the moment, what I want to say to you straight away is, look, do not listen to those voices, either those voices in your head or the voices that are coming from other people, because you are in the single hardest language learning situation of all. It's really, really difficult. You've got this high pressure of family expectation. You've got this self-pressure, this self-imposed pressure of pride. And these are all the kind of things that are really not conducive to language learning at all. So I want to give you a few ideas that I've had, both from my own experience and from lots of people that I've worked with in this situation. And I think that in order to solve this problem and to actually learn the language that you're trying to learn, you need to move it away from the family situation, and you need to step away from your family as the person or the people who are going to solve this problem for you. As long as you are sort of using the family environment as your source for language learning, you're putting huge amounts of pressure not only on yourself but also on your family. Your husband or your wife or your partner is not your language teacher. As much as it would be great if they were, as much as they might even love to be able to teach you, what happens is, by coming home every day and saying to them, oh, can you just speak to me for 30 minutes in the language or whatever, you're giving them a role which they have not asked for. This was not part of the deal. It's all very well for us being interested in languages. That person probably has no interest in teaching. He or she probably has no idea how to help you, which might even be frustrating for them. And with all these things going on, it just gets too emotional. You need to relieve yourself from this pressure. If you can find and create the right environment for learning, then whoever you are, in whatever situation you're in, you can learn quickly. Okay, anybody can learn to speak a foreign language quickly by following all the kinds of things that we talk about in this podcast. But I think that you are actually, I mean, I don't want to be very dogmatic about it, but I think it's very likely that you're sabotaging your progress if you're looking to your own family for the solution. So what are the different criteria that you need to learn a language effectively? Well, you need stability. You need to have a reliable source of input and of education and of knowledge for your language. And that is a teacher or a tutor or a language partner, whoever it is, but not your actual partner, not your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. Okay, you need a stable person there who is there in order to help you. Number 2, you need consistency. I squarely put my success down to just belligerently starting to learn a language and never stopping. I make loads of mistakes, but I keep at it and I keep studying on a regular basis. I have regular lessons on iTalki every week. That's what does it for me. And it's in that stable environment. Consistency, again, if you try to ask your partner to spend that regular time speaking with you, teaching you, it's putting a lot of pressure. It's not fair on them. So you need to get consistency from an external source. And the best place for that consistency is to have regular lessons with a teacher or a tutor. And again, this doesn't sound like rocket science, does it? Because you've heard all this before. But again, I'm sure that you have probably caught yourself thinking, well, I don't need a teacher because my wife can just teach me or my husband can just teach me. What I'm saying is that the best kind of consistency is imposed on you from outside because it just keeps you accountable. Okay, so number 1 was stability from a regular teacher. Number 2 was the consistency that comes from studying day in, day out in a stable environment. And number 3 is the routine. Similar to consistency, I guess, but again, it's you have to be responsible for this. You need to revise your flashcards every day, if that's the way you like to learn. You need to go through and regularly review your dialogues. Go back and read and listen to the stuff that you've been studying in your textbook. You need to work on that mini speech you've been doing. You need to have those regular speaking sessions with your teacher. Routine. Every day, day in, day out. It is simple, but it's not easy. And it's made that much harder by you trying to mix your family life in with all of that. When you go to work, you probably have this very strict structure imposed, things that you have to do, things that you can't leave work before you have this done, regular meetings. Work and your daytime and the things that you have to do, that's when you're in this state of consistency and routine and obligations, basically. When you get home, this is the time when you have to leave your obligations aside. You can just relax and spend quality time at home with your family. It's not the time to bring even more kind of imposed language learning stuff into the environment. It's not what the family is for. And from the people that I've spoken to, and certainly in my experience and some very close friends of mine as well, in a similar situation, the minute that you can have that mind shift and stop relying and counting on your family to give you that language experience that you want, take it aside, put it in that clinical environment with the stability, with the consistency, with the routine. That is when you're going to start to see progress come really quickly. So I guess it's been a bit of a rant in a way, but I really wanted to say that because the regularity, the frequency that this question is coming up. So for those of you who are not in that situation, perhaps you will be in the future. Many of you will be, I'm sure, so it might serve you then. If you are in that situation, then I hope this does speak to you, and I hope it does make sense. If you have a friend or you know anyone who is in this situation, who's learning a language for the sake of their partner, why not share this episode with them? Please let them know about it. It might be it could potentially be the thing that makes all the difference to them. It's you can find the show notes at iwillteachyoualanguage.com/episode 29. Please send them a link to that. Let them know about it. That would be really, really great. And I'd like to leave you today with a resource on the topic of the show, as usual, and it's a great post written by my friend Olly from hackingchinese.com, and he wrote this post about how to learn Chinese with a Chinese boyfriend or girlfriend. So it's on a very similar topic, but more than anything, apart from the post, what I want you to do is actually go and read the comments themselves from this article, because you just look at the kind of flood of emotion and difficulty that comes out in the comments of this article. It's really, really powerful stuff, and I find it's something that I haven't seen explored around very much, but it's very, very real for a lot of people. So go and check that out. I'll put the link in the show notes, which you can find at iwillteachyoualanguage.com/episode 29. So go and check out that article, and you might like to get involved in the conversation itself. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next episode of the podcast.
Thanks for listening to today's episode, and in case you didn't already know, I teach languages in a rather unusual way through stories. Now, stories are a great way to learn a new language because when you're engrossed in a story, you remember things more easily, and the mechanics of the language just start clicking inside your brain. It's quite something, and if you'd like to find out how you can learn a new language or improve your skills in a language that you already know and do it with the power of stories, then you should check out my free Story Learning Kit, which will teach you exactly how this method works and how you can use it yourself to learn a new language. Visit storylearning.com/podkit, that's PODKIT, to get free access. Inside you'll find explanatory videos, masterclasses, worksheets, short stories to practice with, and much, much more. Once again, that is storylearning.com/podkit, PODKIT, and if you're lucky, you might also find a link in the podcast description or show notes of this episode.